connections. So if you ever wanted to try it, come try it. Tu B'Shvat is coming, our birthday party for the trees. We celebrate it on the Sunday closest so that we can celebrate it with the kids and the grown-ups. So everyone's invited, and we need volunteers for cutting and plating the fruit. Oh, it's happening Sunday, February 1st at 11 o'clock. And we eat lots of fun fruits and nuts and things that grow on trees, and drink wine and juice of various colors.
And we also have the Shiga coming.
Oh, that's what I'm hearing. Yes.
Okay. So at 9:45, Bushy Hill Nature Center folks are coming here to give us a walkthrough in our backyard, quarter to 10 to quarter to 11, and they were here to survey our space, and they were just like blown away, and they're great. So come.
Wear your boots.
Yeah, it'll really get you in the flavor of Tu B'Shvat for sure.
Oh, that's
amazing.
So they go through the woods?
Yeah.
We're going to go out in the middle, and then we're going to go to the woods. Yep.
On that same day, at 3 o'clock, we have the making of House of Cards with John David Coles, the executive producer director of the hit Netflix series. So an inside look into the show that is just weeks before the new season. In the spring, the first weekend in May, we have a scholar in residence coming, Alan Marinis, who basically has revived the Jewish tradition of Musar for modern Jews in the world. I don't think just in America. And he's coming in May, and we're preparing for that by reading one of his books and talking about it. It's Climbing Jacob's Ladder. I think we have one left that we can sell you in the office, but you can probably find it yourself if you want it. So we're getting together to talk about it on Tuesday, February 3rd at 7:15. And if you haven't read it yet or didn't finish it, come anyway. It should be a fun discussion. It'll give you a little taste of what he's going to bring us in May. And one more thing, there's too much to read all of it here, but Linda Pin really wanted me to let everyone know about our new art exhibit, which is coming. And I'm not actually sure when it goes up on the wall, but I know that Sunday afternoon, February 15th, Leah, Caroline, and Alan Falk, the two artists, are going to be talking about the pieces. They're artistic and religious interpretations of Song of Songs, and it's going to be a really fun and intellectually challenging show. It is Song of Songs, which is sexy, and some of the images are sexy, which means that we had to figure out a way to make sure everyone was comfortable walking in and out of the building at all times. So there will be times when the full exhibit is there, at other times, especially when there are children in the building, or parents really, the most sexually explicit ones are going to be in like another room where you can go see them. So I haven't even seen them, so I don't even know if they'll make me blush, but apparently they're, but that's Song of Songs, so it's in the Bible, it's holy stuff. So come look at it, wherever it is, and meet the artist February 15th at 2 o'clock. Should be fun. Okay. So that's it for announcements. So since I last had a chance to talk Torah on a Friday night, we've moved from Genesis to Exodus, and we are really deep into the Passover story. This week's Torah portion continues the drama of Moses and Pharaoh's confrontations, which began last week, and Pharaoh continues to stubbornly refuse to let the Israelites' slaves go free. And God, in this Torah portion, sends the last three plagues, the plague of locusts and darkness, culminating with the killing of the firstborn of the Egyptians. All of these plagues contain the element of darkness. The clouds of locusts are so massive that the land of Egypt is darkened. And the plague of darkness itself is like a physical darkness that is so thick that it could be touched. And then the killing of the firstborn is obviously just dark on its own, but it takes place in the dark. It takes place in the middle of the night. And no matter how desperate it gets, and no matter how dark it gets, Pharaoh's heart remains hardened and impenetrable by the power of these plagues. His ego, his belief that he is right, that he is in charge, his fear of failure or showing weakness, all of these qualities build a thickness around his heart. And each plague seems to maybe get through for a split second, opening the door of his heart a crack, but then immediately slams shut again. For Pharaoh, the darkness is inside of him. He's unwilling to see what is really happening or take it in. He can't take in the reality of the fact that there's a force much more powerful than himself at play. And he tries mightily to steel himself and to continue to believe that he is in control. But something that I noticed this year, which I had never really noticed before, a number of different commentators brought this to my attention, is that while we have Pharaoh's heart that's hardening on the one hand, on the other hand, the people's hearts, the Egyptian people and the Israelites, their hearts are softening in this Torah portion. By the time the locusts come along, even Pharaoh's courtiers they're convinced that they should just let the people go. It's time to give in to Moses' demands. This is just too big. They can't handle it. And they say to Pharaoh, aren't you yet aware that Egypt is lost? His own courtiers. And even in the midst of all this destruction and awful plagues, death, we're told, the Torah makes this declaration, kind of surprising, that Moses himself was much esteemed in the land of Egypt. That somehow he's starting, not even just starting, he has gained status and kind of almost good PR through all of this. How could that be? Right? The Egyptians esteem him. And by the time the Israelites are about to finally leave, we read that the Egyptians are disposed favorably towards the Israelites, and they give us gifts as we leave, gifts of silver and gold. The modern Jewish commentator Benno Jacob, writing in the late 1930s in Germany, so just think about that, right? He explains this passage by postulating the passage about the Egyptians giving the Israelites these gifts, right? He explains the passage by postulating that there was a group of Egyptians who revolted against Pharaoh's policies by publicly giving the Israelites these gifts. According to Jacob, the gifts were a demonstration of public conscience and solidarity with the Israelites' cause, and against the policy of slavery. Pharaoh, meanwhile, wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of these cries of death throughout his land. And for a moment, he is, and I think he's afraid enough to let the Israelites go. He hasn't softened, but he's so afraid that he lets us go. But we know that heart, it has not been transformed, and it's not going to be. Eventually, in next week's Parsha, we know when the Egyptians pursue the Israelites into the sea, and the Israelites, having crossed over on dry land, will look back to see the entire Egyptian army drowning. Pharaoh holds on till the very end. His heart is so hard that he holds on for so long that he allows his own empire to crumble rather than listen to Moses. He allows his entire army to drown out of fear for his own reputation as a man of great power. But I think what Benno Jacobs, very idealistic commentator, teaches is that true power lies in people's ability to stand with each other for what is right, to empathize, to open our hearts. And according to his interpretation, the Egyptian people actually do this. They extend themselves to the Israelites. They show solidarity. According to Benno Jacob, this actually allows the Israelites to open their hearts too, to leave Egypt without bitterness towards the Egyptian people. And by the end of the Torah, it bears out in the book of Deuteronomy, we are commanded that you shall not abhor the Egyptian, for you are strangers in his land. We're not supposed to hate them. We're not supposed to carry that bitterness with us out of Egypt. So as I was looking at this parasha, I saw these two human responses that are within all of us, the hardening of the heart and the softening of the heart. And I was thinking about power in both of those situations and how we think we have power when we harden, but the true power can really lie when we soften. I thought I wanted to bring out these aspects and ask us to look at ourselves and to ask ourselves how hardness of heart manifests in our own lives. Perhaps we've had experiences of being bruised or disappointed, and we can respond to that, or that experience can express itself as impatience with other people. Our own bruises can cause us to be bitter about life. There may be times when we feel powerless and afraid, and this expresses itself as defensiveness or anger. But we can also look at ourselves and see what is it that helps us to soften, even under the same circumstances of being disappointed or bruised or powerless or afraid. Maybe it's the opportunity to actually notice other people's suffering and to empathize. Maybe it's the expression of gratitude for what we have, rather than kind of focusing on what is disappointing us. Maybe it's the expression of appreciation for what others have done for us, or the experience of prayer or making music. We can soften our hearts through acts of loving kindness, through being part of someone else's liberation, through social justice work. Or maybe on a smaller scale, being part of someone else's freedom, liberation, just through being there with someone. So what I love about Benno Jacobs' commentary is that he flips the story of the Exodus on its head. For him, the lesson is not a dark one. It's not a hard lesson of God taking revenge on our enemies for all that they had done to make us suffer, so that we could triumphantly march out of slavery to freedom. Rather, the lesson here could be one of compassion and of love and of light. For Benno Jacob, the story is about the Israelites and their Egyptian neighbors parting from each other without bitterness, without resentment, in peace, in kindness, in openness. So I'm going to just leave you with the words of a contemporary teacher of Torah, Rabbi Shai Held, whose Divrei Torah I enjoy reading when I get a chance. He's the one who brought this commentary to my attention this week. So he writes, "One senses in Benno Jacobs' words the insights of a brilliant exegete, but also the pain of a rabbi and teacher in a Germany consumed by hate. And in today's world, which we know is still suffused with bigotry and hostility, a world in which people of faith often marshal sacred texts to legitimate acts of cruelty and to extol hatred as a virtue, There is great power in reading Jacob's words and being reminded. At the heart of the religious enterprise is the attempt to soften and open one's heart to God and to one another. If even the Egyptians and the Israelites can be successfully called to love one another, and perhaps even in the darkest of times, slim glimmers of hope are available to us. Page 586. We rise for Aline. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
Ushemo
Our thoughts turn now to our loved ones, those whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be for blessing. This week we mark the yahrzeits of Howard Beckerman, Meyer Bernstein, Dora Feingold, William Fried, Sarah Glazer, Herb Golden, George Horowitz, Kurt Kaufman, Saul Klar, Mayer Mazer, William Price, Israel Resnikoff, Max Rogow, Joseph Samuels, Sadie Samuels, Esther Sandberg, Helen Schneller-Klein, Julius Schneller, Rayanne Seidman, Florence Subit, James Talbot, and Nathan Zombach. And we recall those who are laid to rest during this past month. Kim Turner, mother of Trina Schilling, and Stella DiNicola, mother of John DiNicola. And if there are other names of folks that you're remembering tonight, you can say those names this time. Mourners and those who wish to join them, please rise for Kaddish, page 598. What I have to say. You can't sneeze in the middle of a Kaddish. Okay. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba ve'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael v'adalah v'yizman kariv v'yinu amin. Yehei shmei Rabba v'yorach v'olam l'mei amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramach v'yitmaseh v'yitadar v'yitkaleh v'yithalal shmei t'kushah v'yikhu Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran ve'alma v'yinu amin. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yinu amin. Oseh shalom b'mramav u'yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yinu amin. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who bereaved. And we say. So we will rise to conclude, and we're going to sing Adon Olam, page 625.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, V'terer Kol Yitzir Mimra, V'yein Nasa V'chefto Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Yadlalalai, 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 Hakol levado yimloch nora vehu haya vehu hove vehu yiyeh v'tifara vehu echad ve'ein sheni lehamshir lo lehachvira v'lireishit v'litachlit v'lo ha'oz ve'amizrah. Not kosi v'yom v'kra v'yado afkir ruchi ve'edishan ve'ha'ira ve'im ruchi geviya Adonai li velo ira. Yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la 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 la, yalla la la la, yalla la 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 la la.
Shabbat shalom. I always have to sneeze when I'm introducing the cottage, and I just recently connected it with, it's right after I open and close the water. It must just be this. And it just raises a little dust and it goes right up.